Thank you so much, firstly, to Mimi, for having me. I've actually been to a few of these meetups in the past, and I've always left feeling really motivated and inspired. So I'm honored to be speaking here because I think it's awesome, and hopefully I can share my story, and I'll do the same for you. I completed my Bachelor of Business Admin, and this was also a decision that wasn't really a conscious one that I made. It was more that my sister was 7 years older than me, went to U of T, did her business degree. It seemed like the right thing to do. I think a lot of us get business degrees just kind of by default as a good basis, so I did that. And before I even graduated U of T, I was recruited by Kraft Foods to work for them in their sales and development team. Kraft was really tough. I was actually there at a time where I was in sales and development, so in the grocery industry. It was very male-dominated. Going into industry with traditional thinking was pretty challenging. And I actually had a boss who would make a lot of misogynistic comments to me, put me down about being a woman in this industry, and it was really tough. So being really young, entering my career, I had to make that conscious decision to kind of stay aligned to myself, stay true to myself, and ask tough questions about, do I really want to be doing this, and should I be sticking this out just simply for kind of the looks of what this job is? And I decided no, I didn't want to be doing that. So I took a 50% pay cut, gave up my unlimited cookies, gave up a company car, and all of that to take a job kind of at the bottom of the ranks as marketing coordinator for RBC. So there I was, working at the bank. Everyone was kind of double my age or greater. And I started working my way up over the span of 4 years in product management. So I was managing the rewards credit cards. You guys have heard of like Avion and the travel cards. So over the span of 3.5 years, I did that, and I moved up what you would call the corporate ladder. So just went from position to position. Every year I would change, get my salary increase, and that's kind of what was driving me. And I was 24 then, managing a portfolio with a $24 million budget. So it was a great job at the time and gave me great experience, but I realized I'm really not that into banking, and interest rates don't excite me, and getting people to like spend more money on their credit cards wasn't something I was personally aligned to. So I thought I needed to leave and find something that I was a little bit more personally passionate about. To TIFF, which seems really glamorous, and a lot of people hear about this and they think, oh my gosh, that's the coolest job you could get in Toronto. You're working for a film festival. You get to be doing this all day and kind of just hang out with celebrities and schmooze, and you know, it's super fun. And again, the reality is obviously different from what we think it'll be. That was more the reality. So the reality was me piled under papers year after year. I did 3 festivals, and I essentially had no summer. I was just like working my butt off, and I also managed a lot of year-round programming. So I was senior marketing manager for the festival and all the stuff throughout the year, which got really, really exhausting. And the most glamorous moment I would have is like on the red carpet. I'm there behind Natalie Portman after working 10 days at the festival. I do not look or feel glamorous, as you can see. I look exhausted. And that's kind of as exciting as it got. And again, 3.5 years, it kind of like seems to be the pattern. But I didn't know what I wanted to do next. All I knew is I was letting the salary drive me, or the like look of the position of being senior manager at TIFF. But all I did know was I needed a break. And out of nowhere, it was November, and my husband was dropping me to work that day, which normally doesn't happen, and he dropped me to work, and out of nowhere, I turned to him and I'm like, I think I'm getting let go from TIFF today. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, this is coming from me, who characteristically, like, it's just not, I'm a top performer usually at companies. I have great performance reviews. Like, it was kind of out of nowhere, and I'm like, I don't know, something in my gut. Like, I just listened to this voice, I'm like, I think I'm getting let go. And lo and behold, I walk into the office, and I'm on the floor, and it's really quiet. I see my VP of marketing, and all of a sudden beside her, I see the HR director. I'm like, oh, this is really happening. Like, I was right, this is happening. And so they pull me into the office, and they tell me I am indeed being let go as part of the giant restructure. They're letting a bunch of my marketing team go. And at that moment, I could have taken it one of 2 ways. So I could have played victim and thought, this is personal on me, it's personal to my performance, I pride myself in my performance, I could have been really, really down about it. Or I could have taken the latter approach, which was, I just complained for 2 years about a job that I thought was shitty, and I need to figure my shit out. So the universe is just handing me a card being like, hey, you stop complaining about your job and go do something about it. So I took that approach, and I decided, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to figure out who am I as an adult. Like, I don't even know who, at that point, I didn't even know who I was. I hadn't asked myself the questions like, what excites me? Like, what are the things I'm curious about? What do I even want to be doing as an adult? Like, now I have all these opportunities, and I have no idea what I want to do with all of it. I think for me, at the time I realized, like, what are the problems that I'm having in my life or the challenges that I'm having that I think will then help me figure out what I wanted to do. Since I didn't know I wanted to launch a business, it was more about solving personal problems. So at the time, I felt that I was lacking community, I thought I was lacking connection, and I really wanted to bring people together in my personal life. And I think some of the best businesses are born out of solving personal problems. So what I did was think about how I could organize experiences for people. I figured it might be cool to bring friends together or friends of friends and just like grow my community and start to organize these experiences kind of rooted in wellness, because that's what I was getting curious about at the time. So I thought I would do yoga and brunch pop-ups all over the city. And it very quickly evolved, because I was kind of staying true to myself, into anything, any sort of activities that I could get people to come together, and I could have people facilitate activities, and we could all just like come together and do cool things together. So that's where Imburia was born. I launched this company in April of 2017, and the whole premise is essentially that we pair exceptional facilitators around the city with inspiring spaces. Project Space is actually one of our venues, and we've had a bunch of experiences here, but we also do stuff at the Drake Hotel, at Lululemon, various venues around the city, and the whole premise is the activities are rooted in creativity, wellness, and self-growth. In a world where we're all stressed, we're all busy, it's a time where you can like take a step back and actually do something that is for you. So it doesn't matter whether it's a calligraphy class or cooking classes or yoga or paint nights, we do all of that, but it's really about the feeling that we want you to leave with. So we want you to leave feeling like a better version of you, and that's the whole point. Whether you're coming with a date or a group of friends, or you're coming by yourself and then all of a sudden you're making connections with strangers, it's just about leaving with that feeling of being grounded, inspired, and just feeling really great about taking that time for yourself. I had gone from having a team of 4 people with like obviously a very structured environment to having nobody, and here I was working on every single aspect of my business by myself, in isolation, often at home, trying to find co-working spaces or groups that I could kind of join and connect with people on. So that was a challenge, and I think I learned a lot about being resourceful, learning to automate things like processes, all the things that I actually thought, why was I working in the corporate world? This is great, but I needed all of those skills to bring it into my business life now. But the best part of all of this is not the wins, it's more about the fact that I never had a plan B. And I found it really interesting that people would often say to me, what's your plan B? Like, what if this business doesn't work? Oh, you're venturing out. Like, it made people so much more uncomfortable than it made me, which I thought was really interesting, especially when friends would be like, well, what are you gonna do? Like, what's your backup plan? And I'm like, I don't have a backup plan. Like, I think that's doing yourself a disservice if you're thinking about what your plan B is, you're not fully invested in your plan A. And so I never thought about that, and that's not to say that I'm gonna be doing Imburia forever. I'm doing it now, I think it's great, and who knows where this could pivot and take me and land me, but for now, I don't have a plan B and I'm just sticking to my plan A. I believe in a life of balance over hustle. I think a lot of people think when you own your own business, you have to hustle, you have to work hard. There's almost like a badge of honor in like busting your butt to do the next thing. And for me, it's not about that at all. Maybe it's because I didn't want to launch my own business and I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. For me, it's if I'm gonna have a life where I'm allowed the freedom and flexibility, why wouldn't I take advantage of that? It makes no sense to me to then be working 10 times harder just to reach the next goal and maybe become a multi-million-dollar business or sell my business off. And I'm not saying those aren't good goals to have, but for me it's just rooted in the fact that I want to do things that personally align to me. And travel is a huge priority to us, and I feel like that's something that I don't want to compromise on, so where I can, we still travel. And I did all of this while launching business and working on it. If that means sometimes I'm working from away, that's fine, but I just want to remind everyone that, you know, hustle isn't the thing that you always have to think about. I work hard, but I don't feel that it should compromise things that I'm valuing, because if there's a time where I'm saying no to hanging out with friends and family, or I'm saying no to taking those trips, and those are the things in life I value, then what is the point? I'm kind of doing the same thing I did in the corporate world, where I was selling myself short. So that's just something to keep in mind. As adults, like thinking about those curiosities that really drive you, and Mimi was talking about this a little bit, it's asking yourself the tough questions and kind of quieting like all the space, getting rid of the noise, and like going inward, whether that's your soul, your spirit, your inner voice, whatever your gut is telling you. I think often we don't listen to our guts, and that's really where all the answers are. They're within yourself. You don't need to look externally, but just asking some tough questions, like, you know, is your job really making you happy? Are you making those decisions based on fear? Do you even want to start a business, or do you just think it's like glamorous, so you want to get into it for the wrong reasons? But most importantly, are you being true to yourself? Because chances are, if you ask yourself that, and every decision you make, you're going to be down the right path because you know you're being aligned with who you are.